Welcome, everyone. I am Lisa Cressman, an Episcopal priest and the founding steward of Backstory Preaching. And I am delighted today to have this panel of preachers to talk about the subject and gift of resilience, and in hopes that this will be in service to you, because we're in a marathon of needing resilience with all of the changes and tumult that we are facing. So I will introduce our panel and then pray, and we will begin our conversation. We have here the Reverend Dina Van Claveren. She serves as Rector of St. Andrews in Glenwood, Maryland. During her 11-year tenure, the community has grown in formation and outreach ministries while also reducing a heavy mortgage debt load. And Dina, I suspect there would be many people who would want to write to you and say, how did you do that? So well done. She also serves as chair of the National Episcopal Church Task Force on Responding to the Opioid Epidemic, and is a seminary graduate of my alma mater as well, Church Divinity School of the Pacific in Berkeley, California. And I am also delighted to add that she will be a participant in our Backstory Preaching mentorship this year. We also have the Reverend Eric Miller. He has served as rector of Ascension and Holy Trinity Episcopal Church outside of Cincinnati since August of 2010. He is a graduate of Virginia Theological Seminary and has served in the Diocese of West Virginia until his move to the Diocese of Southern Ohio in Cincinnati. And Eric completed our Backstory Preaching mentorship this past May, and I am very pleased that he will be training with us this coming year to become one of our mentors. And then finally, we have with us the Reverend Dr. Ronald J. Williams Wells. He is senior pastor of Union Congregational Church, UCC congregation in New York City. He earned a Doctor of Ministry degree from United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio, and his MDiv from New Brunswick Theological Seminary. And I've been honored to get to know Dr. Wells a bit through Backstory Preaching's weekly Let's Talk, open conversation for preachers. To introduce our topic on resilience, I would like to begin with Romans 5:3-5. We also boast in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that has been given to us. Now, I realize that this passage is problematic because in some ways it seems to glorify suffering, and that is not what I intend by it. But resilience as a word itself, I cannot find in an English translation of the Bible. And it seems to me that this describes the character of resilience, because resilience comes from difficult times, and we have to rely on how it transforms us, and hopefully transforms us into someone more akin to Christ, and that it very much relies on hope to help us go forward and continue to serve even when things continue to look bleak. We have several questions we are going to be talking about as we look into resilience. And the first I would like to ask Dina, what are some things that are sort of wearing you down, where you feel like you need resilience?
What's wearing me down is input. Lots of new, well, not new anymore, it's been 17 weeks, but 17 weeks of new input sources. And I'm not even talking about the news media, I'm talking about the church. Different Zoom meetings where I am feeling, as a good doobie and one inclined to be a rule follower, I've got to stay up to date on what my bishop wants me to do, or what this organization is saying is the best way to reopen the church, or that organization is saying don't reopen the church. So I'm suddenly a public health expert, or practitioner anyway, if not expert, And the input I have found to be wearing me down, absolutely wearing me down. And the processing of it and then churning it over with leadership helps me feel less worn down, because we have so many talented leaders in the congregation who can make better sense of it. So that's been one of the ways forward, but it's been absolutely wearing me down. And the other piece that's wearing me down is the lack of human connection with people I love, not just on the personal level, but in the workplace. The lack of personal pastoral connection with people fed me more than I realized. It can exhaust me and wear me down. But in COVID, I'm realizing when I interact with people pastorally, I'm doing it in such a different way. I'm not being also fed or nourished or have a sense that this is what I'm called to do in the same way. And so it's taking a different toll on me. Learning how to do it is the first piece. But then once you kind of figure it out and get your bearings, it still is not I'm not feeling as at home in the pastoral relationship as I was before. And that gives me probably a little layer of anxiety about whether or not the pastoral connection and the pastoral care is competent.
Right, right. Yeah, keeping up with things, having to, the shifting sands of trying to get our bearings is exhausting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't lay my eyes on someone and see how they're doing on a Sunday morning. I mean, I think when we scan our congregation, we kind of go, oh, what's going on with so-and-so, or they look great this week. And I'm realizing how much I relied on that information to feel that the congregation was well, or I at least could take the temperature.
Right.
And so it's wearing me down to figure out how to do that in new ways.
Yeah. And the anxiety of just not knowing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm presuming it can be done in new ways, and I'm not really sure.
Thank you. Eric.
Thank you. For me, it's the disparity and the vitriol is really weighing and wearing me down within our political system right now in our nation. The fact that Black Lives Matter has been made to be into a political thing doesn't feel right to me, and I take all of the racism quite seriously. And that is wearing, the fact that racism still exists is wearing me down. The fact that sometimes it's hard to get people, oftentimes it's hard to get people to admit to acknowledging their own biases and to learning about it and to talking about it, to having healthy dialogue. The community I'm a part of, this little town I'm in, has tried to have a little bit of dialogue about it, and it did not go very well at all. It's a small neighborhood where I am here in the suburbs of Cincinnati, and there are folks that are outright angry with one another. And it's something on my mind all the time, 24/7. So that's been very challenging for me, as well as just what I sense is the hatred and the disrespect that we have for one another right now as a nation, as well as within the Christian tradition, that we can be so belittling toward one another. That's where I am.
Thank you. Ron, how about you? What's
Eric,
wearing you down?
I'm happy that you brought the elephant into the room. And one of the issues that I've been struggling with is, what is the Christianity of the slave owner, and what is the Christianity of the slave? And so in a very real, pragmatic way, I think if we're going to really address systemic racism, at the heart of it is really that nagging question. And it's not, it really didn't start with me. I had the pleasure of working with Jonathan Wilson Hargrove, and it's from his text that he started asking the question, and I've been struggling with it for quite some time. Now, in the midst of COVID-19, trying to deal with one of the 4 funerals was a Black male, 28 years old, walking while being Black in Brooklyn, and unfortunately was the victim of Black on Black crime. So that's also weighing me down. And so when you have people who work as first responders, and there's a protest going on. So there's a notion of praying for the protesters, praying for the police who would like to go home as well. It's just a time of tremendous implosion, and not really enough avenues and venues to be able to vent or even develop new relationships. So one of the things that has been helpful for me is at least weekly spending some time with others, in dialogue, because to me it's one of the gifts. As a congregation, we've struggled first with the conference call, and then we went to Zoom. But what was a helpful precursor is we started a prayer partnership. And so it was through many of the relationships that have enabled us to be sustained now, because we pray with each other every day. So hope I've answered your question.
Good, thank you. Good. And I'll just add the other thing that we're all living with, which is this pandemic, and it's certainly weighing me down to have this vast difference in response and how to handle it and what to do with it, and that a virus has been politicized. It astonishes me. And that the question about what to do with schools opening or not is, and that the anger about the whole is also, let alone the virus itself, and the concern for it actually just getting sick. There's also the response around it is one of the things that's really getting to me too. So, where are you finding hope? What is assisting building resilience in terms of hope? Eric, you want to start that one off?
I'd love to. Where I'm finding hope in respect to the racism is this, what I consider to be a groundswelling of people who are standing up and who are learning about, many are unwilling to, but the hope is also in the fact that many of us are now. I'm reading and I'm learning. I'm engaged with an interfaith group here in the greater Cincinnati area about learning to do what we can do to speak out about injustice and racism. And I'm very hopeful about that. I'm very hopeful about the church's willingness to engage in new ministries and in new ways of doing ministries when we really need to look at digital ministry. If you would have talked to me or to my church 2 years ago about, you should consider more digital ministry, I would have said, well, we'll get to that in a couple of years. And now we're here. And our vestry has risen to the occasion. Our staff have. It's really miraculous to see. So I'm very hopeful about those things.
Mm-hmm. Needs must. Yeah. Thank you. Ron.
When we were told that we could no longer gather in person, we had a prayer warrior ministry that I started when I came back from Afghanistan. And we prayed 3 times a week. And so that became the default for service. On Mother's Day, we were trying to, honor mothers. And so one of the deacons had his children on. And he said, every Monday we debrief and try to figure out how to make the service more effective. And he said 4 of his 5 kids were on, and they already made donations for Zoom. And so we've been on Zoom, ever since. And what's tremendous about it is we have members who have relocated in Atlanta and North Carolina, and some members that, spend half their time in South America. And now everyone is in worship and having a very mature congregation. We've decided that regardless of what the powers that be tell us, giving is up, attendance is up. So why do we need to rush back into the physical building? Which raises, a more profound question of, when did the church become the building, because the ecclesia is supposed to be the people. So it's for me, it's very hopeful. And we just had a semi-annual meeting, and a number of people commented that it was the most effective meeting that we ever had, because people were actually listening and talking. And as Congregationalists, there was no, let's see, the pastor's not spending enough time at church, you know, there's not enough outreach, there's not enough in-reach, we can't pay our bills, you know, so it's been a sign of hope.
Yeah, the changes that this has brought upon all of us to have to learn new skills, and the unexpected consequence that many of us have faced, or that I keep hearing from so many clergy, are what you've described, Ron, that attendance is growing. Old members, former members are joining in worship, and there's a connection, even if we're not physically connected. There is still a connection that has grown that we didn't expect, and that has been a beautiful thing.
And we now have some of our quote unquote sick and shut-ins who are now navigating through the technology, because we're each week I'm saying, so who's going to reach out to this sick and shut-in person to get them, because we're all virtually shut in. So how do we, you know, effectively minister to them?
Nice. It's great. Thank you. Good. Dina, how about you?
So when we were working on the sermon and backstory preaching, or we were working on our good news around Abraham and the binding of Isaac, I had this epiphany, and I didn't have enough time to work it into the sermon that week, but it keeps working on me. And that is that that second call in that story is Isaac calling out father to his father. And maybe it's Isaac's suggestion that, hey, you know, a lamb would be a really great thing to add to this mix. That got me really thinking about the younger generations. And I was reading things that Isaac might have been in his 30s, he might have been a teen, you know, all these different things. And I thought, it's, you know, I have a lot of hope in the younger generations that are saying, hey, maybe this is a way forward for us around race and the sin of racism and the evil of racism. And so I'm finding a lot of hope in welcoming that, and welcoming younger generations and their approach. It's totally different than how I'm not organizing this protest. But it would be different than some of the organization I think that we've had in the past around certain things. And I want to just welcome that and find that to be hopeful, because what we've done in the past, well, here we are. So to be really hopeful for newer movements and a younger generation that's going to get out into the streets, hopefully safely. But I'm finding a lot of hope in that. And also when we got up here to Biddeford Pool, Maine, which is traditionally incredibly wealthy, privileged part of society that could come in summer for the summer. And that's not the context I grew up in. I grew up pretty working class, and very working class. And this is a really different environment for me. And when we pulled into town, and I was so exhausted and so ready for a change of scenery, I felt like I was going to burst into tears when I saw, you know, #BLM in windows, handmade signs by children or grown-ups. I'm not, you know, nothing about the artistry, but handmade signs and crayon and marker in windows of these, you know, really lovely cottages that people have summered in. Just things you don't know about a community until push comes to shove. So I find that really hopeful. I also find it hopeful that people are eager to return to church. I think about a year ago, I was wondering if church was done. I was kind of wondering if I wasn't done with church, or, you know, God is not done with church, but the idea of the building and the worship and the Sunday, I was wondering if Sunday morning was done. That's more accurate. And if the customs of Sunday morning church were done. And I'm not wondering that now. I think I have seen such a longing, and that gives me a lot of hope for how people are turning to church community. I don't want to say virtual, online. Gives me a lot of hope that enough people still know that's a place you can turn for this kind of meaning making at a time like this. Gives me a lot of hope. The other piece is nature. just getting off the screen and getting outdoors, it fills me with hope. It helps me find my little tiny place in God's enormous, gorgeous universe, and not feel like I need to be in control. Just to put my hope in God and to take my place as one small yet sometimes powerful creature when I'm aligned with God, and kind of get back in alignment. That makes me really hopeful.
Good. Great. I'll add that one of the places that I find hope is Dr. Anthony Fauci, and perhaps not in the way that might immediately jump to mind. And that is his steady, non-anxious, calm ability to keep speaking truth, keep speaking the science, keep putting it in front. And he is not the only one who is doing that kind of thing. He is one of the most visible people to be doing that. But he represents to me the people across the country who steadily, slowly keep putting forward the way of love, the way that viruses work, the ways that a community, that we cannot be individualistic in a crisis like this. It doesn't work. There are plenty of times when we can do our own thing, but this isn't one of them. And so the steady voices that keep saying it is very hopeful to me. That approach, I'm very grateful for, and they teach me, because I will confess that there are a lot of days I don't feel quite that calm about many things that are happening. So I am grateful for the constancy. Yeah. So when you feel overwhelmed, when it all gets to be just too much, then where does resilience come from? How is that cultivated in you? Ron?
So for me, a few years ago, started out trying to remain, physically fit. And so someone a few years ago introduced me to thank you. And so for the past 3 years, I put on my schedule a thank you walk. And during the first 30 minutes of the thank you walk, I listened to the Bible. During my walks, I also listen to the New York Times and spend very little time watching television, because it becomes too many talking heads. Just give me the facts. And with a sense of trying to balance, the most difficult funeral I had during COVID-19 was my prayer partner. From October the 1st to June 5th, we prayed every day. And she was also the head of the deacon board. And I couldn't reach her on June 6th. And then 8 a.m. on June 7th, a voice answers the phone and said, "We were trying to get in touch with you. Deacon Marver died." And to make a long story short, I had 2 hours before it went viral. Well, actually I had about 20 minutes. And service was not the same, because she always took care of the prayer. And after driving all the way from New York to New Jersey to do the funeral, took me about a total of 6 hours back and forth. I went to the track and I walked 10 miles. And in doing that, I was able to release Marva, pray, listen to the Bible, listen to the Times, and recommit myself through the power of the Holy Spirit to continuing to be a source, a conduit, and be reminded that I'm a wounded healer. And yeah, that's what helps me when I'm overwhelmed.
Wow.
To have the routine of being able to get outside. And then finally, the night walks are when the Holy Spirit, when she talks to me, and I really look forward to the late evening walks because that's when she really calms me down.
What do you think it is about that time of day? What do you think's going on there?
It's, I think that for a lot of people, even people of faith, we have a fear of the dark. And so whatever it is about darkness, the light of the Spirit counterbalances the darkness for me. And don't ask me why it took me 60 years to figure it out, but that to me is how God tends to move. So yeah, I love nature now. And if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would be like, do what? No.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that combination of the physical movement and the listening to the sacred, listening to how the world is happening around you, so that those two things come together. Prayer, and outside. I mean, it is a winning combination.
So I've long since forgotten, someone, and I tell people sometimes there's seeds planted in us that we don't, the wisdom or lack of wisdom of youth. Some seminary person said, if you're going to be an effective preacher, have the New York Times in one hand and the Bible in the other. And so literally that's what I'm doing as a way of, grounding and centering myself.
Yes. Yeah, I picked up on that right away. That's wonderful. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dina.
So this is how do I keep going when I feel overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it goes back to my early experiences of feeling overwhelmed and what did I learn then? And I'm still doing the same things, but maybe hopefully a little bit better. So I'll preface this, and the work that I am so honored to do with people in recovery from opioid and heroin use. We're all in recovery. So part of my own understanding of what I need to do when I feel overwhelmed returns me to my own experiences of childhood trauma as an adult survivor of abuse in the home as a child in my childhood home. I knew that kind of instinctively, or as a gift from God, I believe, and from watching people around me, that the way to move towards health when feeling overwhelmed was to really reclaim the gifts that God gave me of agency and health, my body. And so that's what I still do. I take care of my body very intentionally when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've got these 30-minute workouts with weights. Some of them are only 22 minutes. And the feeling of agency and power, really healthy sense of strength in my body and my soul can, it's endorphins, right? I mean, I know that, I know the neuroscience of it, and I don't care. I feel amazing if I get a 22-minute weight-bearing exercise or a long walk and hit 10,000 steps, or I'm sweating from playing tennis or something like that. So whatever I can do to get into my body and reclaim agency. The other thing that I do for those who, that might be listening and saying, well, I can't do a 22-minute workout or something. The other thing I do is I've got this Panda planner, and I don't mean to be doing an ad for Panda planners, but it works for me. It's this planner, and it's sitting in front of me right now. It's just a planner, but it asks me every morning what I'm grateful for, what my goals are for the day. And if I do it in the morning, which I don't always do, if I do it in the morning, I have agency. I start the day with God. God and I talk to each other and say, what are we going to do today? Sometimes at 7 p.m., I'm like, darn it, I didn't do it. I didn't start the day that way. I didn't claim the agency, the gift, and the focus of this day. And it's 7 p.m. and I'm going to do it right now. And with whatever I've got left, whatever, what the widow's mite out of the poverty, I'll focus my attention now, and I can get out of overwhelm. Typically, even if I start my day with a Panda planner and a fabulous workout, I'll get overwhelmed, and I need to return to some sense of having my own authority, agency, power, control over the situation. And that often means turning to, usually pushes me to turn to God and say, God, what do you want me to do today? Because what I wanted to do today isn't going to happen. So show me, if you can't show me what today happened that was good, at least direct me in the next few minutes to do something that honors you or glorifies your name. And just take a deep breath and recenter on that. But the body, agency, those are the ways I move through feeling overwhelmed.
Thank you. I love that question. What are we going to do today, God? Rather than what am I doing? What is my checklist? What are we going to do today? That's a beautiful question. Thank you. Eric?
Oh, those are beautiful. I'm going to pick up on some of those myself. For me, I do a daily yoga practice that I started at the beginning of COVID-19, and that has sustained me. Some of them are only 15 minutes, like Tina was saying, or some would be 30, 35 minutes, but they're also meditative. So I'm kind of combining meditation and body movement into one with the yoga, and it's in the privacy of my own home here. This is kind of my own studio space a little bit. And that's very powerful for me, and it grounds me, and it keeps me centered in God's presence. I too am an early morning riser. For the last 5 or so years, I've gotten up because if I get up at 5, that's the best time of the day for me, where I don't have other needs coming in on me. I'm part of a recovery group as well. I'm a sober person. And so I get up early and I do a morning meeting of recovery. And so I remember things like this too shall pass. I remember to do my utmost to not borrow troubles from tomorrow and to live life one day at a time. And sometimes I do that beautifully, and sometimes I don't at all. And that's why I have to keep coming back to my life of prayer. I listen to a Bible app as well, and I like to walk and listen to that. I've got a black lab named Grace who's put up right now, but she provides me great companionship as we walk around our community together, and we'll go camp together. I love to hang out with my family and watch movies. The backstory preaching community is also really important for me. I get together on Wednesdays and Thursdays for the sessions for that, and sometimes I need the help that comes with that community. And the last few times I haven't really needed the help a lot, but it's good to see people and just to listen and see how they're doing, and to check in with them. So the support groups really are key for me to have that sense of resiliency and the capacity to recover through life's challenges right now.
Good, thank you. So,
well, I do want to add one caveat that I was thinking about. In the early stages of COVID, I was drawn back to a text called "The Plague," Albert Camus. And as you probably know, it ends with the plague ends until the next one comes. So that becomes a sense of it's not permanent. It's going to pass. But what is God really trying to get us to do as we're going through it? To me, is also a sense of buoyancy about God is moving, God is speaking. Whether it's be still and know that I'm God, whether it's this is the day that the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad. There are essential things that God is still, and did God cause it? I don't think God did. Is God permitting? Clearly.
Dina, similarly to you, I have a planner. I actually made my own planner. And so I learned how to do stitch binding. And so it is my own planner. So I have some of my own questions and that I put in that similar to what you've described. And one of the things I put in there is, what is my call? So it is to remember, why do I do what I do? What did God ask me to do? And it is that what God has asked me and all of us to do is not to produce a result. It is to see the needs of the moment, to tend to Jesus's sheep, and to do so with love. That's the work. So similarly to what you were saying, Eric, of living in this day and not borrowing trouble ahead, it is what are the needs of this day in the way that Jesus also did. That's the call. So it helps me a lot to keep remembering that's enough. That's enough. All right, last question. How do you preach the hope that is in us? How do you put this across in your preaching?
So I'm an Enneagram 7 for those who speak Enneagram, which just means I'm like a cheerleader. I'm like Julie on the Love Boat saying, let's go do this, let's go do that. Wouldn't it be fun if we? And I'm always, when it comes down to my call, it's let's get to the kingdom of God as soon as we can, because it's going to be such a blast. So let's go. That's sort of my, and that's hard during this time to invite people to go do the thing that we can't normally do. For me, that's so embodied, and this has been such a disembodied time that it's been a challenge. So, and I'm also, struggling with, I'm away right now in this gorgeous part of the world while a good chunk of my congregation is still working the front lines in the hospitals and exhausted and home with the little kids who can't go to camp, and a little bit of guilt about being in a gorgeous, wonderful place. And I'm working through that and enjoying it, because I know I need to be healthy to return and get through the marathon, as you said earlier. So part of what I'm hopefully doing to foster some resilience in the congregation is to point out the things that people are already doing really well, the things that they had in place before COVID that are serving them well right now, like colleague groups or recovery groups, prayer groups, sacred ground dialogue groups on race, some of the things that we were already engaged in. Thank God. Thank God we have a community from EFM and Sacred Ground and Bible studies, and our kids have youth groups so that they have these powerful connections where they can do some of the meaning-making work. Thank God we've been focused on welcoming people into the community, because now we have to welcome them online in a different way. And it's not the same as wearing a name tag. It was totally different, but we know how to make those adjustments. So part of it is just like with my own teenagers, saying, you got this, you know how to do this. God has never been far from you. You've been God's, to one person, it's like, you survived cancer and it was a rough time. And now you're going to help teach us, what were some of your strategies? How was God present to you in that? And what can we learn from that together? So to draw from, like we do in lots of ways with young people, or when folks are struggling, you've got this, you've got this. And when you figure out that you don't got this, we turn to God, we turn to community, figure out who's got it, together we've got this, not the individual, I got this. And I guess that's how I feel about it, is to turn and to try to model that in my preaching, that to maybe say very overtly, to definitely say overtly, I learned something from Backstory Preaching, a group I'm in, where I turn to learn things, or to model how we learn and grow. Or I didn't know how to use Zoom and do this and this and this. I only knew how to do this from Backstory Preaching. Now I've learned all this from so and such, to just model that we're all on a journey together, and to show some of the work and to not be worried about that.
Good. Thank you. Eric.
The resurrection, in response to your
Yeah,
question.
there is that. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the power that Jesus and God are bigger than death, and my excitement and my joy and my wonder and my awe in that I get to preach that I get to be of service to God, that life, there's some pretty crummy stuff and there's a lot of injustice in life right now, but that God is in it with us, that I resolutely believe that God suffers alongside with us and God also rejoices with us. And so I take that belief that God beckons us to new life with me into the pulpit each Sunday. We have a new community of people who are technical parishioners, as well as people from outside the church congregation, if you will. And we're gathering for morning prayer live on Facebook every morning. And my warm up to talk online this morning was talking to 9 people on Facebook Live for morning prayer. And sometimes I'll give them a little mini homily, and sometimes the forward movement meditation fits up nicely. And it's just good to see. Actually, that's modeled off of your live Lectio. And we talk to one another and hear our prayers. So that there's great hope for me after I get off a 9 a.m. morning prayer session. The other thing is that I focus on what it is exactly today that I do have agency over. The thing that I can, what I can do today is I can write my sermon on justice and on love. I can get that written, and I can be prepared tomorrow to spend time with my family. I can meet with the parish administrator and do the things of the church that I have control over. I can be upset about the things that I don't, but that's not going to do me any good. So I really try and not be weighed down as much by the injustices that are happening. There are plenty to allow that to happen, but really look at what is it. We're doing a town hall in the town I live in a few weeks, and I get to be a part of that planning group. And how can we plan for the best town hall possible so that voices can be heard, and maybe some healing and some wholeness can start to occur. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you. Ron.
The first Sunday that we had to do communion virtually was absolutely for a church that only has 2 sacraments. I know you guys are much more sacramental. It was really freeing and empowering people to get whatever type of bread they wanted, whether they wanted tea, coffee, wine, grape juice, whatever they wanted. It's, we're going to do the words of institution, and then we're going to partake of the Lord's Supper. To me, it has been just an absolutely transforming experience. And there's a couple whose baptism was scheduled a few weeks ago, and they were on. And at first I said, we can do the baptism virtually. And they happen to live near the church. They said, what if, we came and there was a total of 10 people. And then the other said, well, but we can still participate. I said, yes. So, literally finding opportunities to build community and practice social distancing and at the same time, to me, has really been an interesting way of processing through.
Good. Thank you.
May I add one more thing, Lisa?
Please.
So we did a service of lament, a bonfire of lament, where people wrote out all their laments and then smushed them all up and threw them into a big bonfire. And they came carload, household by household in cars. And there was a long loop around the parking lot. So there was this sense that you're not alone, that all these cars are lined up to throw their laments into this bonfire. And we had the fire department there with their big truck. So kids thought that was pretty cool. And we had a basket to give them notes of thanks for all they're doing during this time, and a lot of good community, and people were bringing food for our local food pantry, and of course donations for the church to collect. But standing there vested for the first time in a long time, to have all the vestments on first of all, and then to be standing there and watching the tears roll down people's cheeks, and just to feel the weight of the lament thrown into the fire, but to see their bodies sort of lifted in response, you know, kind of when they got out of the car and how do we do this and what do we do? And then the sort of, you know, to see somebody's arm on a child or a spouse's back, rubbing them as they stood there and watched it burn. I think that's gone a long way for me in turning me a little bit. There have been so many losses, and I think there will continue to be losses for sure, but to remember that we have a God who will listen to our laments and our losses, and to remember that at any time we can offer those, helped us feel more connected to God, I think, and more aware of our need for God. And I'm hoping creates more resilience in us to know that whatever losses are still around the corner, we've always had a God who wanted to hear them. That's my hope.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, similarly to what the rest of you have said, a lot of what is helpful for me in preaching that hope is the recognition that what somebody else is feeling, expressing, I also feel that. So when people are acting out in ways that are not helpful to others in that moment, been there, done that. When I see people acting out and recognize that so much of what is motivating that is the grief that comes from change, doing that, and knowing that grief takes over our frontal lobes and we make really, really bad decisions when we're in grief, when we're scared, when we're angry. Done that too many times. And God forgives. That this is the beauty of community. This is what we do, is we hold each other, whether we make good decisions or bad decisions. People are always can come back, and death is never the end. It's never the end. So how all of this can be transformative when we decide to work with the Holy Spirit to be transformed by it rather than resist it. And I just won't let it happen. And instead saying it's happening. And yes, it's hard and there's grief and it's going to be a transition, and it is not the end. There is always transformation and resurrection to follow. Well, thank you all so very much. This was our first time, all four of us. We have never done a panel conversation quite like this before. And I thought you all did admirably. So thank you all very much. Dina, Eric, Ron, it was a privilege to be with you. And
well, thank you for the invitation, and nice to meet the both of you as well.
You too, Ron.
Likewise. This was spiritually rich for me to hear your voices, so thank you.
And see your faces.
Yeah.
Also good.
And if you would like to learn more about Backstory Preaching, head to our website backstorypreaching.com. And the only thing we do at Backstory Preaching is support preachers in their preaching and preaching life. So let me know how I can serve you. And until next time, thank you all, and be good news to preach good news.